When these senseless shootings happen in America, the manipulated person feels anger and rage, and perhaps they wish for revenge or a sense of vengeance or punishment for the party that they feel is guilty. The entire purpose of this racial hatred and violence and the eliciting is to create animosity. This is a classic case of power consolidation from engineered chaos, so that blacks and whites and other people go to war with each other. And those who are playing along with this, unwittingly, by the way, perhaps they don't have the knowledge of history to understand how this is being contrived or engineered. They are unwittingly manipulated into taking part in the escalation of that rage and violence. So you'll see, for example, Black Lives Matter is really a movement of people that the globalists see as useful pawns to be moved around the chessboard in order to accomplish their globalist agendas. If you look at the Democrat-controlled cities like Detroit, like Chicago, you look at the inner cities like Los Angeles, for example, or Miami, where there tend to be minorities of low economic status who tend to vote Democrat, almost by 80 or 90% Democrat actually, then you really get a sense of the kind of misery and poverty and hopelessness that has been cast upon those people by this system of globalist control that is now running the race war narrative in America. The very movement, Black Lives Matter, is based on this underlying false narrative, this false supposition that says that only Black Lives Matter, when the real answer for all of us, black, white, no matter what our background, no matter what our race, is for us to stand together against the globalist system that is seeking to enslave us all. So the correct response to this hatred and violence that we are seeing in the streets today and in the media is not to call for violence against the other party, but rather to express, believe it or not, to express solidarity and love towards people of every race and background, and to name the real enemy in this. The real enemy is a corrupt, criminal, failing, desperate government regime. You win when we recognize how we are being emotionally manipulated. And we reject that manipulation, we reject the hatred and the violence, and we instead embrace each other as fellow human beings and fellow Americans who all pretty much want the same thing, which is to raise our families in a relatively law-abiding, peaceful society where we're mostly left alone by corrupt government totalitarians. If we, the people, realize that and act on it, then we win at every stage of this great war for liberty in America. They don't want that system to change. The last thing that the Democrats want, or even establishment Republicans, is for Black America to rise in the economic ladder and to experience real liberty, real freedom, constitutional freedom. The thing that scares the establishment the most is a free, educated, informed Black man with a rifle, for example. That's horrifying to the system, but it is actually the ultimate expression of a free Black man in America today, is a Black man who knows his rights, who knows his history. And that image is very frightening to the establishment. That's the last thing they want to see. And so they have to push a very aggressive anti-gun rhetoric and try to blame guns and try to blame races, whether you're black or white. They're gonna blame you at one time or another and blame it on your liberty and blame it on your freedom. Meanwhile, they're whipping up the hate rhetoric, and they're whipping up the flames of hatred and actual violence that we're now seeing unfold across our streets. So this is a manipulated, engineered system of hatred. The leftist media is, in essence, engaged in the radicalization of African Americans to turn them into domestic terrorists so that they will commit violence from which the establishment can consolidate power. And they really don't care how many victims there are in this process or how many dead police officers have to bleed out on the streets of America, as long as they can achieve their goals. But if we give in to the hatred, if we give in to the violence, if we escalate it, if we call for more violence, if we invoke it, then we lose. We become enslaved under a system that we inadvertently put into power. And that's exactly what they want. I think that in the end, love defeats evil. And if we can view a fellow human being with just a sense of basic dignity, regardless of their color, background, or the way they talk, or the way they walk, or the way they look, or the way they dress, or how old or young they are, if we can just look at other human beings and say, that person has value, and I recognize that value. I might be different from that person, and that's actually great, because we are all unique. We all have unique contributions to offer the world, unique innovations. If we can have that kind of attitude, then we win. We win every day, that we can wake up and look at the world in that way.